Yeah, it's about 10 years ago when I lost my son in a tragedy, and that just set my whole life upside down. And I just couldn't cope with anything anymore because he was living with me and suddenly went out, and then phone call, then that your son is drowned. And it was a shock first. And then when I tried to go back to work, I couldn't cope with work. Um, Everything just went downhill.
I worked in a hospital and I did night duty there. And there was this little girl, she was beautiful. And when I think about it, I can still see her, you know, she was 9 years old she was. And she came into the hospital to have her tonsils out, and then under the anaesthetic she coughed and flooded her lungs, and she died. And I'd had my day off by then, so when I came back, we asked where she was, and they told us. Well, that upset me so much because I love children, you know. And I did go through depression for 6 months.
I had what I now refer to as a nervous breakdown, which took me to my lowest point ever. And I couldn't handle anything, couldn't deal with anything, and I was trying to make up my mind what to do next. Do I just run away? Do I make for Beachy Head? Do I go and live in a cardboard box under Waterloo Bridge?
Well, I suffered what was a trauma from a breakup of a relationship. This wasn't recognised properly or at all, and instead of being treated for what I now know after masses of research on my behalf, should have been treated as post-traumatic stress, they treated me for some made-up quasi-diagnosis that they unfortunately give to many people for reasons best known to themselves of borderline personality disorder. This is grossly untrue.
My first panic attack happened when I was coming out of work one evening about 5:30. It would be very difficult to explain to people, except for the fact that everything seemed to be suddenly strained. My stomach was churning, my heart was pounding, and I was quite frightened to get on a bus. I managed to get on a bus, and I just could not wait to get indoors when I just slumped on the bed.
Yeah, my husband, he was suffering from depression, and he had, a bit of dementia as well. But because I work as a carer for a long time, I understand. I went on courses, so I understand his illness. But he was nice to me. But at times, because of his illness, he used to, lose his temper. But I didn't mind, because I understand him, and we was together such a long time. So I do understand his illness and all that,
My marriage broke up, and sales went bad, and I had a big drinking problem. And the reason my marriage broke up was really because of the drink. And the three things came together, like no job, no home, no wife, and I had a breakdown. That was my first breakdown. And I was admitted to Banstead Hospital, which is one of those old Victorian places. And I think I was there for 6 months. And I was diagnosed as manic depressive, which I believe is now called bipolar these days.
In 1980, I had that. I was schizophrenia, diagnosed by a doctor, and she said we'd try on tablets, see if that would do, keep it fostering. And if not, we had to go by injection. But apparently the tablets are doing the job, So if I don't take them, well, then my hands shake and everything. I can't hold a cup of tea up and everything. My hand goes really sort of, you know what I mean?
By and large, most people are supportive and sympathetic, but there are some people who just won't speak to you anymore because you're a nutcase. But there definitely is stigma, and people are afraid of mental health problems.
In the Black African community in particular, mental health is seen as maybe a punishment for a sin or something you committed. So it's, if you, or even if a member of the family has been diagnosed with mental health, the whole family is like condemned. So it's a big issue in the Black African community. So sadly, people might have the problem, but they don't even want to mention it to anybody because of that stigma. So if there was an educational system whereby people are just, because everybody can suffer from mental health. There are so many various parts of the whole spectrum of things that fall under mental health, and maybe majority of the population, we do suffer mental health from time to time. But because of the stigma, people are living in ignorance, and it's sad because if you got a mild mental health issue, it can be handled very quickly.
Well, I think recently more people are talking about it, especially blokes. And I think I know more men that have been suffering depression. But when I had mine all those years ago, it was a taboo subject. I think it improves you as a person if you've gone through this, because you're more understanding to other people and you're more able to talk to other people. And in fact now, I feel no stigma at all talking about it.
I don't mind telling my friends and acquaintances that I have depression, I'm mentally ill, got a touch of OCD, that sort of thing. And then I can explain to them what that means in practical terms, and it's not the same as being neurotic or being suicidal or any of those other things. It's quite different.
There's a track record of stigma to mental health problems, no question about it. I think that is beginning to lessen, and I think perhaps associated with the stigma, it wasn't coincidence that mental health services were always the Cinderella, even of the National Health Service. You know, that they got less money than other services, like acute services, for instance, and I think up to a point that has changed as well. But in the current climate, I think mental health services will become the Cinderella again, because I don't see any way around it.
I thought that having stopped drinking, my mental problems would vanish, but they didn't. When I'm depressed, I don't do anything. I stay in bed for most of the day, or I get up and watch television all day, all morning, all afternoon, all night. I just go to the local shops for food. And if I've got a problem, I hide, basically. I switch the phone off so it doesn't ring. And you can't contact me when I'm in that condition, because I won't let you, because the phones are off. And it's pretty awful, really.
It's been really difficult, and I'm currently, having some help. And I think that when you've had very long-term depression, it gets very difficult when you get older to learn how to change. And with the modern way of psychological way of dealing with these things, you have to do a lot of work yourself, and I find that really difficult.
Coping with things is, I think it's probably always going to be a problem for me. I need more help than I get. I live alone, so there's no family or anyone to keep the pressure on every day. That means I can easily slide into not looking after myself, letting things go, letting the flat decline, forgetting to wash, wearing the same clothes every day for a month, that sort of thing. If I'm not meeting people, no one tells me I should buck myself up, so I don't, and that is a drawback.
No, but then they explain to you what it is, what dementia means, that they get very forgetful, you know, they don't know what's happening. Because one time I was coming from work, my husband was outside with a bag in his pyjama. So I said, what you doing here? I said, oh, I'm going shopping. And it's really hurt me because, you know, he was a very bright person, he was well educated, and for him to do that, then I said, no, you're not going shopping, let's go home. Or sometimes he leave the gas on, and he's, you know, he don't even know, and sometimes the front door is open when I have to go to work, you know, and all these things. But then, you know, I gradually understand, you know, what was wrong with him. And the same thing with depression, you know, he talking about he don't want to live, he don't want to go on, and all that, you know. I'm the one who pulled him through such a lot.
Then the doctor said, oh, maybe you should be put on some pills. But I thought, hang on, why do I need pills? I'm not ill, it's just that I'm trying to cope with what's happening to me. So I said, look, I need a second opinion. So I went back and saw this other doctor who, surprisingly, instead of prescribing medicine, he started talking about life generally. And then we had a great conversation about the human body, the human brain, the human spirit. And then after all the conversation, he said, okay, I'm going to take a chance. Well, go practice some spiritualism for a while, and if it doesn't work, we'll come back and we'll put you back on the pills. I said, oh, thank you, I like that. And I went away, and surprise, surprise, I never had to take the pills.
I should be getting some help from a care coordinator on the mental health team in my local authority, but they are overstretched and understaffed, and they don't have the resources for quiet, harmless people like me when there are much more urgent cases to look after. And so I tend not to get as much care as I think I need, but I just have to live with it.
Even after 7 attempts of suicide, there was almost no help after serious, very serious suicide attempts.
The psychologist who I saw once a week for 6 weeks and who was extremely helpful, and she pointed out, when you're depressed, you only think about all the worst things you are. But she was making me realise I did have the odd good point, and over time I realised I wasn't such a bad person after all.
I don't really think that depression is something that's taken a hold of the National Health Service because there's so many people with it. I feel that the best way of helping one another is to maybe be in groups where you just discuss your problems and what's happening, and somebody may suddenly say, oh, I have that, or I have this, and that I feel is more of a help.
The doctor said that he can help me, but I've got to do it as well. So he told me to go out, look in the shops, don't stay in, and I did what he said, and I got over it.
Hello.
Hello.
Come in.
I'm fine, thank you.
Good, come in. How are you?
I'm very well.
Yeah. Come and have a seat. It's cold outside, isn't it?
It is very, very cold.
Would you like a cup of tea?
Not right now. So many people suffer from mental health, and sometimes people don't even think of it as mental health. They just say, oh, the person is depressed. But depression is a mental problem. And because of that, you can always see people going within themselves and not really coming out and talking and saying what is happening in their life. And unless you know, you can't really do anything to help. But then as mental health champions, we try to go in and help in whatever way we can.
I think one of the most important things for any form of unwellness is that service users, patients, have to be involved in the design of the services from early on, in the planning and in the delivery and in the monitoring.
Since I've entered what I call recovery, I am getting out more, meeting more people and talking to more people, beginning to take up hobbies.
Being active, I think, is very important for both physical and mental health. So that's what I am doing about myself.
We did our little play, I don't know if you saw it, did you? And that was quite good, because I enjoy drama, acting. I like to do something.
Anyone that's had depression must insist on themselves that they do things, keep active, even if it's only doing the washing up or painting the cupboard, because inactivity is what depression breeds on, in my opinion.
I think you have to be prepared to go to your GP and talk openly about it. That's the first thing. And if you possibly can, talk openly to people who are close to you. You know, it's really important for support. And to be prepared to take up whatever is offered to you. But it is also very important to keep physically active, to try and be active in the community if you can, make a contribution. It helps your self-esteem, eat well, healthily, and just try to keep in touch with people. Don't isolate yourself and don't let yourself become isolated. I think that's really important.
I'm very keen on promoting the positive aspects of mental health, because there are a great number of them. And you get people like, is it Stephen Fry, who's on TV, he says, I'm a manic depressive. He's not ashamed of it. And, you know, there's no need to be ashamed of it. It's like having measles to me. Anyone can get mentally ill.
Mental health has made no difference at all. I mean, I'm still the same man as I was before I had the illness. Well, I'm doing a lot of singing in my life. Like, I mean, it's given me a boost up. I mean, I couldn't sit indoors and watch till four walls and what. I got TV, but some programs on there are rubbish. You know, you don't. But I'm out most of the day. I'm talking to people and stuff like that.
Too hot, tonight.
A round of applause is worth 1 million antidepressants. Thanks.